Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were definitely uninvited from the Met Gala, and a Wintour ain't got time to play these games.
No one has come to their defense other than people who have a financial reason to come to their defense. Blake and Ryan, you're not fooling anyone. We have clocked you. We have the receipts. We have the tea.
From the looks of things, Anna Wintour, who basically runs the Met Gala, wants nothing to do with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And this is no doubt a result of the all-famous Lively and Balden lawsuit. However, insiders say it's Blake's choice to skip the Met Gala.
Sure thing. Okay. Of course, their insiders are giving us the truth.
The question is, do we believe them, or is this some PR crap to save face to understand what is really going on here? You'd need to hear what their sources say is the reason they're skipping the Met Gala.
A source close to the couple tells TMZ Blake and Ryan are skipping the gala this year. But before you jump to conclusions, it's got nothing to do with their legal war against Justin Baldoni, because the decision to pass on the May event was made way before the drama unfolded.
However, not only did these sources say Blake had canceled on the Met Gala way before, they also go ahead to say she has canceled other times and doesn't need to attend every Met Gala.
But she and Ryan don't always show up, and they've actually skipped last year too.
But the real truth, as you're about to find out, is deeper than they make it to seem. The sources would have you believe that Blake is bigger than the Met Gala, and so she turned down attendance this year. But the truth may be darker than that.
Did they skip it last year, or they weren't invited? No one wanted to.
In the end, all of these are likely just propaganda. The real truth is that if Blake and Ryan showed up this year, because the Balden lawsuit is all everyone is talking about, it would be the talk of the Met Gala.
If they were to show up this year, Blake and Ryan would definitely steal the spotlight. What? Just like they did at their latest public appearance on February's SNL 50.
If you're wondering what went down at this NL 50 event, well, it was shortly after the lawsuit scandal, and Balden had released text messages between himself and Blake to prove he was not the predator she accused him of being. Everyone was talking about it, and when Ryan and Blake appeared together at the SNL 50, it got even more awkward. There you have it. It was a joke that made the entire place uncomfortable. It was clearly ill-timed and way too soon. And as SNL producers and writers would later reveal, it was not in the script. But there's no surprise there. Ryan is the ultimate improviser, but after that stunt, they have not been seen together again in events.
Okay, so yeah, they would steal the spotlight because everyone will be talking about them and the case and what liars and manipulators they are.
However, being together alone is seen as scandalous, but it extends beyond that. Even associating with Blake Lively or even Ryan seems to also get a bad rep. As a result, a lot of stars have decided to stay away from them, and not many people are coming to their defense.
Manipulators they are. I mean, I want you guys to think about it. Even her best friends have not come to her defense. No one in Hollywood, all the people all the people that they've been around, no one has come to their defense other than people who have a financial reason.
In the midst of the legal disputes involving Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni, certain media outlets and blogs appear to be downplaying the severity of the situation. For instance, during the SNL 50 anniversary special, when Ryan Reynolds made a joke referencing the ongoing legal issues, some reports, such as those from TMZ, suggested that the joke was met with laughter, but in reality, some attendees found the remark inappropriate given the gravity of the allegations. Additionally, there are claims that the laughter during Reynolds' joke was not entirely genuine. An SNL staffer alleged that a laugh track was used to enhance the audience's reaction, implying that the actual response may have been less enthusiastic. These instances highlight how some media outlets may present a more favorable narrative, potentially minimizing the seriousness of the legal matters at hand.
Their appearance had everyone buzzing. Some loved how they laughed off the JV drama. Who? Loved that they laughed off the drama. Where? Bots that are just randomly popping up now, all of a sudden, everywhere? Like, exactly who loved seeing them in SNL 50? It was heavily criticized by everyone. Even people in the audience were looking at them as though they were insane.
But that's not all. The whole Blake Lively versus Justin Baldwin drama has really divided people. But if you look around, it seems like most are siding with Baldwin. A lot of folks believe Lively was trying to take over. It ends with us, and in the process drag Baldwin's name through the mud. Even Joe Rogan chimed in, calling out Lively and Ryan Reynolds for going after Baldwin and praising him for standing his ground against Hollywood heavyweights.
You've been following the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively thing?
Bro, Blake Lively, talk about ruin your reputation, and Ryan Reynolds.
They fucked up. Ryan's trying to get out of it now. He's trying to get out of the lawsuit, and they're like, you were a key part of this.
This is what you get, though. This is what you get. You're trying to fucking ruin a guy's livelihood by using the Me Too movement?
Because they were trying to take over the movie.
Yeah.
They were trying to take over the movie and the whole franchise. He owned the franchise.
Yep.
On top of that, Lively hasn't exactly helped her case. She got a ton of heat for pushing her personal products during the movie's press tour, which many felt was totally out of place. Instead of focusing on the film, it came off like she was just using it as a business opportunity, and people weren't having it. It also doesn't help that Justin Baldoni has always had this reputation as a genuinely nice guy, thoughtful, respectful, and just all around likable. That image only got stronger when he started posting receipts, actual chat logs, and messages to back up his side of the story. To many people, it came across as Baldoni simply defending himself against what they saw as an unfair attack, instead of just making vague statements or letting lawyers do all the talking. He put everything out in the open, and that really won people over. The messages painted a picture of someone who wasn't trying to control or mistreat anyone, but rather someone caught in a messy situation he didn't create for the public. Seeing those receipts made it easier to believe that Baldoni was the one being wronged. Meanwhile, Lively's side of the story hasn't landed as well, especially with people already skeptical about her motives. Whether it's fair or not, it's clear that Baldoni is winning in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, especially a guy like that. It was like known as being like this really sweet, nice guy.
Yep.
And then it's like, all right,
Dude,
you know.
he posted the receipts. He's like, oh, remember our text exchange? How much?
As a matter of fact, Lively is being called out for what many see as double standards, and for turning a minor issue into a full-blown scandal. One of the biggest examples people point to is the whole breastfeeding incident. According to Baldwin's receipts, Blake was the one who invited him into her dressing room while she was breastfeeding, but later in her lawsuit, she claimed that he looked at her while she was breastfeeding as if he had done something inappropriate. For a lot of people, this came across as completely unfair. If she was the one who invited him in, how could she turn around and use it against him? It's moments like this that make people feel like she's twisting situations to fit her narrative, rather than being honest about what actually happened. That's why so many people see this whole lawsuit as her making a mountain out of a molehill. It doesn't feel like a case of serious misconduct to them. It feels more like a power move that backfired.
Him to come into the dressing room while she was breastfeeding. And then part of the complaint was that he came into the dressing room while I was breastfeeding. Like, you literally have a text exchange back and forth. They just never thought that anybody was going to come out with the receipt.
At the end of the day, no one's really buying the idea that Blake and Ryan skipped the Met Gala this year by choice. Sure, they might try to spin it like they just sat this one out, but let's be real, the timing is way too suspicious. The more likely reason: the scandal. Anna Wintour is famously selective about who gets invited to fashion's biggest night, and she's not the type to welcome controversy with open arms. With all the drama surrounding Blake, Ryan, and Baldwin, it wouldn't be shocking if she quietly distanced herself from the whole mess. The Met Gala is all about prestige, glamour, and exclusivity, not messy Hollywood lawsuits. Whether they were outright uninvited or subtly encouraged to stay home, it's pretty clear their absence wasn't just a casual decision when you go from being Met Gala royalty to skipping the event. Altogether, people are going to talk, and right now, the talk isn't in their favor.
Source close to a couple tells TMZ Blake and Ryan are skipping the Met Gala. Before you jump to conclusions, it's got nothing to do with their legal battle against Justin Baldoni. Okay, and today's not Friday. I'm not wearing a black shirt. What are we doing?
And let's not forget how their source tried to make it seem like skipping the Met Gala was no big deal because Blake and Ryan also missed it last year. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you actually think about it, last year wasn't about them choosing to skip, it was about Blake being need in It Ends With Us, trying to push for her own cut of the film. She wasn't avoiding the Met for some grand intentional reason. She was buried in deadlines, making it inconvenient to fly back and forth for a night of fashion when she was fighting to have more control over the movie. It's not the same as this year, where it seems more like the Met Gala didn't want them there rather than them opting out, trying to spin this as they've missed before. No big deal, it is just damage control, but people remember.
So what was Blake doing last year instead of being at the Met Gala? You guessed it. Too busy hijacking Justin Baldoni's film, because May 3rd to May 8th, we are confirmed she was definitely in the editing bay.
But it goes even further when their sources try to frame it like they're not the Kardashians. They don't have to go every year, and they've skipped plenty of times before, even in 2022. Nice try, but that argument falls apart pretty quickly. Blake Lively is a Met Gala staple. She's not just another attendee, she's one of the it girls of the event. Her looks dominate headlines, and she's practically fashion royalty at this point, so acting like skipping isn't a big deal is just PR spin. And now they're trying to spin it like Blake hasn't gone since 2020, as if that proves she's been skipping on her own terms. But here's the thing, they're conveniently ignoring the fact that the Met Gala didn't even happen in 2020 because of COVID, so of course she didn't go. No one did it. Wasn't some personal decision or pattern of skipping. It was literally impossible to attend. Trying to use that as part of their defense is just misleading. It's like they're hoping people won't question the timeline, but anyone paying attention can see the truth. The real story isn't that she's been choosing to miss out. It's that this year in 2025, her absence is making waves because it looks a lot more like a quiet distancing rather than a voluntary break.
2020, the Met Gala was canceled due to COVID and the pandemic, so no one attended.
If you actually go back and look through the years, you'll see that Blake has never voluntarily skipped the Met Gala. Not once. Every time she missed it, there was always a reason beyond her control. Take last year, for example. People might think she chose to skip, but in reality, she was need in It Ends With Us, trying to get her version of the film locked in. It wasn't about wanting to stay home. It was about work obligations that made it impossible to fly back and forth. And before that, the only reason she didn't attend in 2023 was because the Met Gala didn't even happen due to CO. Again, not a choice. Blake has always been a Met Gala favorite, someone who shows up, stuns, and dominates the red carpet. The idea that she's just suddenly deciding to sit it out now doesn't line up with her history. That's why this year's absence stands out. It doesn't look like a choice. It looks like the result of the controversy surrounding her and Ryan, and people are starting to put the pieces together. But just so we are clear, let's go down the timeline starting with 2012.
There was no widely documented reason, but this was around the time she married Ryan Reynolds in September 2012. Wedding planning or personal commitments might have played a role.
Also back in 2015, Blake missed the Met Gala, but not because she simply chose to sit it out. She had just given birth to her first daughter, James, a few months earlier, and medically speaking, she wasn't in a position to be making big public appearances. Recovering from childbirth is no joke. Between the physical toll, postpartum recovery, and adjusting to life as a new mom, attending a high-profile event like the Met Gala, where she'd be expected to wear a fitted couture gown, stand for hours, and handle endless media attention just wasn't realistic. It's not like she was skipping for fun or because she wasn't interested. She was literally unfit to attend. That's just another example of how every time Blake has missed the Met Gala, it's never been voluntary. It's always been because of circumstances beyond her control, which is exactly why this year's absence feels different.
2015, Blake gave birth to her first child, daughter James, in December 2014. So she was likely prioritizing motherhood, or probably felt like she was in shape enough to attend.
Then in 2019, Blake missed the Met Gala again, but just like in 2015, it wasn't by choice. She was pregnant with her second child at the time, and given how private she and Ryan are about their family, she was likely keeping a low profile. Blake and Ryan have always been extremely protective. When it comes to their kids, they don't do big public pregnancy announcements. And they definitely don't make a spectacle out of their growing family, so it makes perfect sense that in 2019, instead of walking the Met Gala red carpet with the world speculating about her baby bump, she chose to step out of the spotlight altogether again. This just reinforces the pattern. Whenever Blake has skipped the Met Gala, there's always been a legitimate reason. It's never been some casual decision, which is why her absence in 2025 is raising eyebrows. This time there's no pregnancy, no newborn, no scheduling conflicts, just a whole lot of controversy.
2019, she welcomed her child, daughter Betty, in October 2019. While this event was in May, she may have been pregnant or keeping a low profile during early pregnancy, as she and Reynolds tend to keep such matters private until later announcements.
We already know the Met Gala was canceled in 2020 due to COVID, but in 2021, Blake missed the Met Gala again. But just like the other times, it wasn't by choice. The world was still dealing with pandemic-related restrictions, and she was reportedly held up somewhere due to lockdown delays, travel restrictions, quarantine protocols, and logistical issues made it difficult for a lot of people to attend major events that year. And considering how private Blake and Ryan are, it's not surprising that she opted to stay where she was rather than deal with the chaos of navigating post-lockdown travel. So yet again, her absence wasn't some personal decision to sit it out. It was just another instance where circumstances beyond her control kept her from attending, which brings us back to this year, 2025. No pregnancy, no pandemic, no newborn, no scheduling conflicts, just a Met Gala invite that seemingly never arrived.
Blake skipped this year, which was held in September, delayed from May due to the pandemic. She didn't specify a reason, but it could be family related.
And in 2023, Blake missed the Met Gala once again, but just like every other time, it wasn't because she chose to skip for no reason. She had just given birth to her fourth child earlier that year and made it clear she'd be watching from home, likely because she was busy taking care of her newborn. Anyone who's been through postpartum recovery knows how demanding those first few months can be, between sleepless nights adjusting to a new baby and simply healing from childbirth. A red carpet event, especially one as high profile as the Met Gala, wasn't exactly a priority. So once again, her absence had nothing to do with wanting to avoid the event. It was about real life responsibilities. And that's the key difference. Every other time Blake has skipped, it's been because she had a valid reason.
Blake confirmed she wouldn't attend, stating she'd be watching from home instead. She had given birth to her fourth child with Ryan Reynolds earlier that year, exact date unconfirmed, but reported around February. The Met Gala is in May. She's a new mother again, probably not in shape. It's too much trying to attend this event.
So looking at the bigger picture, it's clear that the majority of the times Blake didn't attend the Met Gala, it wasn't out of choice. It was due to circumstances beyond her control, whether it was childbirth, postpartum recovery, pandemic-related delays, or personal obligations. There was always a legitimate reason behind her absence, yet now sources close to them are trying to spin the narrative, making it seem like skipping the Met Gala has always been normal for her. But when you actually break it down, that's just not true. This sudden push to make it seem like Blake and Ryan's absence in 2025 is no big deal, that looks a lot more like damage control than reality. At the end of the day, people aren't buying it. The timing, the controversy, and the fact that Anna Wintour likely wants nothing to do with the drama, it all adds up to something much bigger than just a choice to stay home.
So the majority of the reasons why she has not attended is because she had just had a baby, or was pregnant, or it was the pandemic. Those are the reasons why. but they're trying to act like, oh, she just hasn't attended. Is she pregnant again? Is she about to give birth? Like what?
And then there's last year, 2024, it's alleged that Blake wasn't just choosing to skip the Met Gala, but was actually caught up in behind-the-scenes battles over its ends. With Us reports suggest she was busy strong-arming Sony, pushing for her own cut of the film in the editing process. Allegedly, she wanted the final version to align with her vision, and when the studio resisted, she supposedly threatened to go public with sexual harassment allegations if they didn't comply. If that's true, it paints a very different picture than what her sources are claiming. Instead of casually skipping for personal reasons, it sounds like she was meek in a power struggle, too occupied with trying to gain control over the film to make an appearance at the Met Gala. Again, this just pokes more holes in the narrative being pushed now. They want people to believe Blake and Ryan's absence in 2025 is just part of a pattern, but when you actually look at the pattern, the real story is clear. She's never missed the Met Gala without a serious reason, and this year the real reason seems to be the fallout from all the controversy.
What's believed the reason why she didn't attend last year because she was too busy trying to take this movie, It Ends With Us, from Justin Baldoni, and was editing her cut that she forced on Sony and she had no right to do. But it is alleged that she strong-armed them because and if they didn't allow her to do this, that she was going to allege the sexual harassment.
So looking at all of this, it's easy to see why Blake and Ryan attending the Met Gala this year would have been a PR disaster. The amount of drama that would follow them onto that red carpet, unavoidable. And while it may not be a case of bad blood between them and Anna Wintour, it's likely that for now they simply weren't invited, at least not until the controversy dies down. The problem that could take a long time. Public opinion still overwhelmingly sides with Baldoni, and many believe Blake only pushed forward with this lawsuit because she never expected him to come out with receipts, actual proof of their conversations that backed up his side of the story. That kind of move had never really been done before, especially against a Hollywood A-lister. And it completely changed the narrative. Instead of Baldoni being the one on the defensive, it made it look like Blake was trying to twist the situation in her favor, only for it to backfire hard.
They just never thought that anybody was going to come out with the receipts.
Because no one's ever done it, because everyone just bows
Everyone's
down.
scared.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds A-list, Blake Lively A-list, like, don't, they're the queens.
That's like 18.
So while they may be hoping for all of this to blow over, the reality is that it probably won't, not anytime soon. Blake may not have anticipated just how many big names and influential voices would call this situation out for what it really is. Hollywood, after all, has a long history of protecting its own, and the industry generally doesn't like it when people start exposing the truth. But this time things didn't go the usual Hollywood route. Instead of staying silent or carefully skirting around the issue, major figures with huge platforms openly criticized Blake's actions. People weren't afraid to say it. This lawsuit didn't look like a fight for justice, it looked like a power move that backfired. And that's the thing. Blake may have expected the usual industry response: quiet behind-the-scenes damage control, with people too afraid to publicly take a stance. Instead, she found herself in a situation where not only was Baldwin standing firm with actual proof, but big voices outside of the Hollywood bubble were chiming in, exposing the situation in a way that couldn't be brushed under the rug. So while Hollywood may not like honesty, the public does, and this time, the public isn't on her side.
Talking about it honestly and actually sharing the proper facts can't help Blake and Ryan. They must not like seeing such big personalities and people with so much sway, but being out there calling it out for what it is. Because let's be honest, Hollywood doesn't like that. They don't like us being honest. They don't like us telling you the truth. They try to massage everything into their narratives, right?
To make matters even worse for Blake, Baldoni has visibly worn the stress of this past year, both physically and mentally. The legal battle, the public scrutiny, and the emotional toll seem to have affected him so deeply that he essentially shaved off a significant portion of his hair, debuting a completely new look. And let's be real, This wasn't some trendy makeover or a casual style change. This was the kind of transformation that comes from heartbreak and pain. It's the look of someone who's been through hell and back, someone who's had to fight to clear their name while dealing with the weight of a messy, high-profile scandal. That image alone, Baldoni visibly changed. Carrying the burden of everything that's happened only further cemented public sympathy for him. It's hard to paint someone as the villain when they're the ones showing clear signs of emotional exhaustion. If anything, his new appearance served as a silent testament to just how much damage this whole ordeal has caused.
Father of Two unveiled his new surprising look last week, shortly after admitting he was exhausted from a year of emotional stress. He's been spending time with his children in Hawaii with his wife. He debuted his G haircut, stark contrast from his character in the movie. That sources have revealed after struggling with the huge toll on his physical and mental health, Baldoni was prompted to make big changes.
Baldwin's drastic haircut and new look weren't just a fashion choice, they were a coping mechanism when someone goes through immense mental stress. Sometimes the only thing they feel they can control is their appearance, and in his case, shaving off a significant portion of his hair seemed like a way to physically shed some of the emotional weight he's been carrying. It was a silent cry for help, a visible sign of just how much this ordeal has affected him. Anyone who has experienced severe stress or heartbreak knows that making a big change, whether it's a haircut, a new routine, or even withdrawing from social spaces, is often a way to cope. For Baldoni, this was likely his way of regaining a sense of control amidst the chaos, and the public took notice instead of seeing a powerful Hollywood director. Unfazed by the drama, people saw a man who had been deeply hurt, someone who had spent the last year fighting accusations he never expected, struggling against a narrative that could have ruined his career. The haircut, the change in demeanor, the weight of everything he's been through, it all made it even harder for anyone to see him as the villain in this situation.
When you need a change to your emotional state and being, you're stuck, a haircut can actually really do that. If you have your typical look and you actually shave it off or grow it out or dye it or do something crazy to it, it really can change your point of view of, okay, we're starting a new phase. We're doing something else.
Comment your thoughts on this new look and subscribe to ensure not to miss any more details of this dramatic story.